All right, it's recording now. Okay, well, hi everybody. Happy to see you. Happy Friday, if it's your Friday. I was just doing a live video today on Facebook. It's like it really doesn't mean that much to me because I'm calling the shots on my schedule, but happy Friday if it's your Friday. So Lucy has asked us, some of us, to contribute, and as I was coming up with the ideas of what I think I can contribute and help you develop your business, something that I think some of us might know it's important, but some of us don't think it's that important came up, and it's the power of questions. So since I know that I have 30 minutes, I'm gonna do my best to share with you, because asking questions is literally what coaching is about, right? All coaching methodology is about being really good at asking questions, because in reality, the better you get about this very thing, it's a skill. Asking questions is a skill. So I'll give you some ideas, but know that the better you get at this, the easier it will be for you to get people to say yes, because they will discover within themselves the reason why they should do this, instead of you telling them, instead of you showing them, instead of you explaining why. You want to help them discover within themselves their own why. And when you do that, two things happen. One, you get to know them better, you can help them better, right? So when we coach, I'm not here to give advice. It's not my job. I want you to discover within you and your own wisdom, what is it that's making you do this? What is it that you want? And then giving some choices. What are you ready to do? But as you help people asking the right questions, when they make the decision by themselves, because you lead them there with the right questions, they're not going to backpedal. You're not going to get people that get into the business and they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do it, because you went through this process, and they feel more certain because they went through this process with you. Also, when you do this and if they move into the business with you, you're going to have so much more knowledge about what's important to them that you can coach them even better once they start the business with you. And if it's a customer, the same thing. If you ask them the right questions and if you lead them to the yes properly, then they're probably going to be customers for life. They're not going to be the kind of customers that buy once and they don't buy it again, or they don't use it again. So powerful questions. So we're going to start. There's so many questions and so many areas where we can ask questions, but I'm going to start in the prospecting, because that's where we do it, right? So what kinds of questions can you be asking when you're prospecting? So when you are obviously in the initial portion of the prospecting, depending on the level of communication you have with that person, you might be able to immediately move into a more specific question, but in general, you are just checking with them, right? So one question that I've been using a lot, and I think you probably are using a lot, is because we're in a very special time, is checking in with people. Hey, it has been a while. I haven't seen you in a long time. I just saw your post. I just saw your picture. I thought of you. Whatever you want to do at the beginning is like, how are you doing in these special times? How are things with you? And then let them answer, and that answer will probably take you to the next question. So like, oh my God, I'm doing good, thank God. Or you'll find out, you know what, X or Y family member had this challenge, or things are good but work is like that. So when you ask questions, they kind of guide you to the next question. So the very first question I'm asking these days is, how are you doing in these special times? If I am following them and I did my homework in social media and I saw a particular post that caught my attention, And people like to vent in social media about what they dislike, what they're stressed about. People like to give opinions about what they're passionate about, right? Isn't that what people do in social media? People like to celebrate things that are cool or important to them. So then you're gonna, if that's the case, and you don't feel like asking for your, I don't know why, but why you wouldn't ask how are they doing in the special times, then ask a question about specific post and wanting to learn more about that particular post, and start there. So once you get the conversation going, you need to be an expert listener and be intentional on trying to direct the conversation to 3 specific topics. So ask questions about health, right? That's what we help people with. So be intentional and ask questions. So I hope that you have been healthy, and that your family, if you know the family, how are your kids? How's the health of your family? Let them tell you. If you know ahead of time that they had a history of health issues, then confront them and ask them, how is it going with the stress and all that we're living, and your feeling the blank, your high blood pressure, your diabetes, your anxiety, your eczema, your digestive issues. If you know something, then tie it to the stress of these times. How is it going with the stressful times? And you're fill in the blank. Because if you have that type of relationship and they told you, and you know, then that shows concern. You want to say, what are you doing? Is it, are things going? And let them tell you, what are they doing? Most likely they're not doing anything. They're just suffering, right? Because they don't know what to do. Or maybe they're on medication. And then in that case, this is a very powerful question to ask. If you know that someone has a health challenge, and you ask them, how is this going? How are you doing with X challenge? And they tell you, well, the doctor gave me this and that, and I'm taking this and that. If you ask them, how is that working? And they kind of give you a really generic, well, it's getting better. You want to dig deeper. And then a question to us, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about taking this medication every day? How do you feel about what, how your body is going to react for this? How do you feel? So you're always trying to dig deeper to find what they really are feeling. You want to get to the feeling. You want to get them out of their head into their feeling nature. Out of their head into their feeling nature, so they can get the inner guidance. So a conversation, yes, tapping on the emotions, you got it. And in the world of enrollment and marketing and sales, this is what you want to get to. You want to get to the pain point. You want to get to that one thing that keeps them up in the middle of the night. So in the case of someone that is in financial stress, so like I come from an industry that's completely, my all corporate life was in the event industry. That thing is paralyzed. There's nothing happening. There's no events, in-person events. So I know so many people that are being furloughed or being laid off, or they just don't know what to do. So for me, it will make sense to say, hey, how is it going with work these days? I heard that this company let go of a lot of people and this company is doing this. How are you doing? So if you know that their industry or their area have been impacted, go into it. And I want you to understand that what you're doing is listening. So when you ask, let them go. They're probably going to rant for a while. Let them go. When you do this initial questions through text, if they give you sort of like a long thing, my recommendation is get it off, like move out of the text and get on the phone. Like the next question should be, wow, that sounds, that sounds like it's a really difficult thing. You know what? I'm so glad that I connected with you. I'm so glad I connected with you. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk. So you make that initial connection about health, about how is it going in the special times, about their health issue in particular, about their family, about their business. And then as soon as they give you some substance, you're like, wow, I'm so glad that we connected. Why don't we get on the phone? It's so much easier, so much better. I normally, when I say that, if I'm on social media, I use my voice recording option to say that. So I'm moving into a more human type of connection, right? Less automatic into a more human connection. So let's say that you started talking about their challenges around money or health, and then you're moving into, okay, I think you feel kind of like I'm moving into that space where I should say something. You know the formula that it told us: inquire first, and the next one is inspire, right? So you ask questions until you feel that they're giving you enough, which is probably 2 or 3 questions at least, and you've listened enough to say something like, wow, that really makes me think about either this experience I have, or this really reminds me of the experience that someone I know had, and then briefly share that story. My friend Maria, she was a yoga teacher and all the studios closed. And she is a breath coach in the place where she used to do her breathing therapy also closed. And that was stressful, but she tells me that she's so grateful because she had developed this oh gosh, passive income, and so all of a sudden it's like, have you ever heard of it? That's a very powerful question. Have you heard of residual income? First, tell the story. Or I just heard this person who was in this industry and made the shift into something different that really worked for her. And the idea was to create passive income. Have you heard of passive, not residual? I don't know why I keep saying passive. Residual income. Have you heard of this residual income? Do you have any residual income coming? And most likely they'll say like, not sure I have any receipt. What does that mean? What does residual income mean? Like, the conversation for me these days is all, when it comes to business, residual income. We're educating them on the idea of residual income. Most people don't have it. I was talking to a esthetician, and she's making a quarter of what she was making initially, and she's like, I wish I had a plan B. So that's another way to ask. Another powerful question is like, do you think things would have been different if you had a plan B? Do you think you would be in a better place if you had a plan B, that plan B being residual income? That's a powerful question to ask. If you know that someone is um, is is suffering because of finances. And yes, Adam, it's intriguing, this idea of a plan B. It's like, okay, that's what you want them. You want them like, okay, tell me more. And I know you want to like tell them, but get them where they're like, please tell me. So you keep asking questions. It's almost like you want them to tell me, okay, tell me. Like, tell me, what is this thing that you're doing? Don't, if you jump the gun, I know we kind of were so excited and we want to, but I feel that it's almost like they're not fully committed yet to their yes, right? So those are some questions so far. I wanna this is a powerful question that I ask to my clients all the time, and is, well, what are you ready to do? That's powerful. That will be a qualifier either in their health, on their health, or business. It's like, you know what, I'm so stressed, I just can't, it's just like, oh, and I'm starting to like using all my savings, or maybe it's like I'm working, so maybe they're still working, but they're working them more because there's less people. Work is so stressful now, I'm just not happy there anymore. Or it's like, you know what, this eczema is out of control because of the way that I've been eating, or I've been putting on this weight. I want to empathize. Wow, that sounds like it's really a challenge. And wow, I hear you. You may repeat exactly what they say. And it's like, what are you ready to do? And that's going to make them think a lot. And they're probably going to say, I don't know. What are you prepared to do? Thank you, Adam. Yeah. And they'll be like, I don't know. They don't know their options, right? So if they don't know, then you say, again, you can show them through a story and then say, would you like me to tell you what I'm doing? What is working for me? I'm doing something that is really working for me. Or this friend of mine that I told you about, she's been doing this for a while and it's really working. Would you like me to tell you? Ask for permission. Don't give information without their permission. That is one of the rules of confrontation. Ask for permission, because then they'll open the gate. There's nothing that said, oh, you just came and told me about this thing. No, you ask and they say yes. And I have a coach, and then in their methodology, they say, like, just always lead them to say yes as many times as possible. Just keep them saying yes. So then you give them the news. Well, this is amazing transformation program that I did. You tell your story, or you say, this is this great opportunity that I experienced, and you tell your story, and don't say anything else. Remember, you're not doing the presentation. You're just telling your story. And then after the story, if they want to say, well, what is this? Like, how do you do it? Then you say, if I organize a call with my friend that I told you about, if I invite you to this presentation with the founders, if I send you a video, if I send you a recording, would you watch it? Would you attend? Would you be on the phone with me? And then let them tell you yes. See how everything is question after question after question. So they say yes, then you organize. And then actually, would you not just see it, watch it, or whatever, and then by X day, give them a day. Would you attend this thing on Friday night at 9 p.m. for those that are in Eastern Standard Time? That's today's opportunity. Would you attend this other day? Would you get on the phone with me on Saturday? Like, give them a day. Don't leave it like that. If I, would you on this day or by this date? And then they're agreeing with you. Or they say, oh, you know what? I don't know, this weekend is crazy. Oh, that's okay. I totally understand. Maybe how about Monday, right? Let them agree with you. Okay, yeah, I think I can do it on Monday. And they're like, cool, then I'll reconnect with you on Monday night or on Tuesday. So that's kind of a scenario. I'm gonna pause and see if you have questions before I give you what is called the rumble language, and that's how you manage objections through questions. Any questions at this point? Or comments or ideas or call.
No, I think it's really good, Maria, because sometimes we tend to talk too much, and we said everything at the first time. The first time when we meeting somebody, I said the whole presentation, and then I don't leave any room for them to come back to me.
You want them to be hungry. They like, you lead them like this. Oh, what's this thing? What is it? Tell me already. Yeah. And you're kind of like, it's almost like you're teasing them. Well, I'm only going to tell you my story. If you want to see the ending of the movie, you have to see this video. I'm just going to tell you this much. Don't be telling them the ingredients. No. Don't be telling the schedule to follow. No, just like I was feeling like this and now I feel like that and I love it. Or I was going through this and now I found this amazing group of people and I'm making money and learning and I feel supported and I have all this training and I'm loving it. But what is it about? But tell me more. And they're like, if I would you by this day and I'll call you back. And so I know it sounds weird, but that's how psychology works, right? So I know I get so excited. I'm so guilty. All of you, don't think that I don't do this, but I've done it because the coaching is my profession. I'm more aware of it, but I still sometimes go into the presentation mode. So this person watched the video or went to the Zoom, and maybe it took you 2 weeks to get them to watch the video or go to the Zoom. I want to acknowledge that, right? Don't get frustrated. Just keep telling them and acknowledge, oh my God, I know life is so busy. No, I totally understand. Kids can be like that. Don't make them feel guilty. So I'll tell you in a moment that question about the video. Actually, let me just answer now. These days, I'm sending the why period followed by the business opportunity video, by the put yourself onto work. That's the 2-3 minute videos that I sent. So one really goes into the company and why it's so important, but it also touches in nutrition. And the other one is it's just all business. So they come to you and they have lots of questions and they want to tell you why they won't do this, because that's how we're wired. They have their defense on, or they're like, sign me up. There's two options. They watch the video, they want more info. They went to the Zoom, they want more info, they're hungry, they're there. Or they're like, I don't know, yeah, that sounds good. Is this MLM thing? Or I don't have time right now. I'm terrible selling. Or it's just I never do good at these things. I've done it before. I don't know enough people. All of those things, right? And this is a couple. So I want you to write these down. And you see this little tape? This is, I took it from my wall. You see it's there when I get on the phone. I'm always looking at this. It's called Rumble language, and these are not taking credit for this. This is from Brené Brown, if you know Brené Brown, yeah. So she wrote a number of books, but the Netflix special on vulnerability is amazing. So the first one is when they start going the way that you don't want them to go, and you start getting like a little, you know how you feel, it just doesn't feel good physically. You're like, oh gosh, this is gonna be hard. Oh, this is gonna be one of those. I want you to repeat to yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Like right now, I'm telling myself a story. So that's a question you're telling yourself, not aloud. The story I'm telling myself is this is gonna be hard. Yeah? Oh, this is gonna take me a while. Oh, this is gonna be one of those. What is the story I'm telling myself? And then you're gonna ask them the same, but not like that, because that's kind of too confrontational. Like, what's the story behind? Although you can ask them if you know, well, what's the story behind all this? You can ask that if they're your friends. I sense there's something like there's something deeper. Like, what's the story behind this? Help me understand. That's the big one. Help me understand. Help me understand better. Where are you coming from? That can be a question on itself. So where is this coming from? Notice how you're coaching them to notice that this is because someone that they dated entered an MLM and turned into some crazy person, and now they hate MLM. So, and nothing to do with MLM, is the story they're attaching from the past of someone that has certain characteristics and personality that behave in certain way that is not you, right? And you can always say this is a good comeback when there's a story like that. And it applies to health too. Oh, I did this other shake and I did this other thing and it didn't work. And I always ask, do you feel that you've changed since then? Are you the same person? And then if they talk about someone that was doing another person, right? Like let's say this fictitious MLM ex-girlfriend, and they say, do I remind you of that person? Am I? Do you think that we have similarities? Do I behave like that? So you're helping them, like, let the past go and bring them to the present. It's like, you know, what is different about you right now from when you did that one thing? And do I remind you of this person? Do I have the same? Do you think that I am like that? Basically, is what you're asking. And those are not from this list. This is from me. I'm sorry, I got out of the list, but I get it on my kick. So tell me more. When they're very short, it's like, oh no, this is just not for me. They're trying to get you to not ask more questions because they don't want to go there. You want to go there for their own good. Because what they're not exploring are the areas where the light is not getting in. The one the light, think about, you're just helping them to see the truth. That's all you're doing. And this is from my coach that does that too, says that too. All you're doing is helping them see the truth. So you're bringing light to the places in their life that they don't want to see because they think that that's bad. So tell me more about that. And listen, don't interrupt them. If you're asking them to tell you more, shh until they're done. And listen. Listen, because they're going to give you all that you need. Then you can say other ways to say that is, I'm wondering about that. I think I told you I'm curious about that. I did say it already. Help me understand. You're seeking understanding and they are feeling like you care. Another one that I like is walk me through that. Walk me through that. Walk me through that. And you're all of a sudden like, huh, yeah, okay, I see how this goes to this. So it seems to me that when you did that, you didn't have good support. I see, it felt like you were doing it alone, right? Right? And they walk you through it and you caught what it was in the process of it. Then if they get into the space where it feels that time to, they do in coaching, they call this, when you do this, is that they trying to enroll you into their limited belief, right? So they're trying to sell you why it won't work for them. This will work for you, but you know, and so they start like belittling themselves or saying how all the limitations that they think their lives have, why they cannot do this. They're trying to enroll you into their limit, and it's tempting to give in and say like, yeah, you're right, you're totally right. So in that case, you can say something like, well, you can call it and say like, that is not my experience of you. Seriously, you guys, how empowering is that you tell someone that is not my experience of you, and then tell them what you see. I think that you're brilliant. Actually, if not, I wouldn't tell you. We haven't been having this conversation. That's not like my experience for you. And you can say, where is this coming from? So it gets deep, you guys. It gets deep for some people, not for everybody. I like to say often, if I have to, that's not my experience, but I thank you. Thank you for sharing yours. Because you're creating this idea that that's just his experience. It's not the truth. It's just his opinion and his past experience. That doesn't make it the truth for everybody. But you acknowledge his experience. Well, I see how that's been for you. That has not been my experience. That's interesting, right? And I'm just going to tell you two more questions. And is, tell me why this doesn't fit or work for you. You want to learn really what's the reason behind it. Sometimes they give you a too shallow of a reason. Like, tell me why this doesn't fit or work for you. Again, they're going to start feeding you their limited beliefs. or the past experiences or whatever it is. And then you want two more questions. And then you always, it's good to repeat what they say to make sure that you're understanding. The last question is this. If you didn't have to do it perfectly, if you didn't have to do it perfectly, would you do it? Because sometimes they just are so afraid of failing. And then they don't take the chance because of the fear of failing. So if they tell you yes, then I would say, guess what? No one ever does it perfectly. It's like, you can have fun with this, or however you want to say it. It's like, we'll fail forward is what I hear we say a lot, right? Just fail forward and fail forward. And it's like, there's no one I will want to fail forward with than with you. And that's why we're having this conversation. Because I know you got my back and I got yours, right? So I love that one. If you didn't have to, same thing with the transformation. They feel, oh my God, I've done so many things and I never finished them. I lose the weight and I gain it again. And it's just all that shame and all that guilt. So if you didn't have to do it perfectly, would you do it? Okay. So I went a little over the time, but those are some of my powerful questions. And use them, practice them, have them written down, especially when you get on the phone. It's easier to see them. Start with those basic ones of digging in and confronting people. Remember always to ask for permission, and don't give them all at once. Like, let them ask you for more information. Even if that will last another week, if you have a funnel full of people, you're always going to have people at the right time, doing what they need to do. It's very powerful asking questions. And you can also do that with yourself. Are you guys okay if I take like 2 more minutes? I had some questions for you to ask yourself when you feel stuck. Can I get yes? Yeah? Okay. So just 2 little minutes. So, when you have those days that you're like, oh my God, it's just no one's like, I haven't been able to get a yes in like 2 weeks, or like I keep getting these things. I want you to ask yourself, what is going well? What is working? Because your mind is thinking, what's going wrong? And all of a sudden you're listing on all those things. So ask yourself, okay, what's going well? What's working? Ask yourself. That's really empowering, because all of a sudden you're going to realize that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Things are happening for you. And then once you recognize what's working well, how can I do more of that? Ask yourself, how can I do more? I was like, what's working well? You know what? My social media really is giving me a lot of leads. Oh, how can I do more? Well, I think I need to schedule posts because I forget. For an example, this is an example. How can I do more of that? And then the next one, that's like 2.0, is how can I make it even better? This is working. Like inviting people to the Zooms with Amy and Dave is working. Like I've been using the recording from Sarah Rhinelander when they did the Zoom opportunity. I've been using that one thing, like it's been like my go-to ever since the summit, and it's working. And now I'm like, how can I make it work better? And I'm like, oh, I just want to make it shorter. I don't know how to do that. But I come up with that. It's like, okay, I need to find a shorter tool that has those same but now I'm thinking, right? Maybe I'm the one that's gonna have to make that recording. The next one is when you're stuck and you don't want to do anything, or you're just dragging it. What one thing, and I don't know if you noticed, I'm looking, it's on a whiteboard. All of these questions I ask myself every day, they're on a whiteboard in front of me. What one thing can I do now? What one thing, so it's not overwhelming, what one thing can I do now that will have the greatest impact? So then you're not wasting your time busy in yourself with stuff that it's not priority. What one thing can I do now that will have the greatest impact? When you're like confused because you have so much to do, you don't know where to begin, ask yourself that. The other one, how do I want to feel about the outcome? Because once you know how do you want to feel about the outcome, you have to make sure that's how you feel in the journey. The journey needs to feel like the outcome. It's the principle of creation, manifestation. How do you want to feel about the outcome? It's personal. When you're like not feeling that way, take a break and see what you can do in order to feel that elevated state that you want at the outcome state. And the last one is, what will I do to make this easier or simpler? I love that one because I had a history of complicating things. What will I do, or what can I do to make this easier or simpler? And sometimes the answer very often is ask for help. Who can help me now? That's a good one. Who can help me now? Lucy! That's me calling Lucy. So that's it. I took those minutes for you, but I